Hello and welcome to the first episode of Plant Breeding Made Easy. This series will explain the processes and nuances of plant breeding and how plant breeding is done in a research setting. For this episode, we'll be covering the common terms in plant breeding to begin the series. Germplasm is the genetic material used in the plant breeding process. It includes wild relatives, modern cultivars, older heirlooms, and land races. Depending on what type of germplasm is used, will determine how the lines will be used in the breeding process. Crossers are species that, when left to their own devices, will crossbreed with each other and other related plants to produce seeds. These species are intolerant of inbreeding and will suffer from genetic issues if made to do so. Most temperate fruit tree species are of this type, including apples and pears. Of the annuals and vegetable crops, corn, squash, beet, and many other species are of this type. Selfers, these are species that mostly self-pollinate. This is where pollen of an individual flowers will pollinate itself within the exact same flower. Such species will have a rate of 80 to 95% self-pollination, with the remaining pollination being done through crossbreeding. Most temperate grain crops, bean crops, flax, and peppers are of this type. Plants are also classified by their life cycle. Annuals living up to 1 year, biennials living 2 years, and perennials living multiple years. An annual would include wheat, soybeans, or peas. Biennials include onions and chicory, and perennials include alfalfa, alder trees, as well as rhubarb, among others. A cultivar is a modern term for a cultivated variety. Indeed, the term is a portmanteau of cultivated variety. Most modern forms were first bred in the mid-19th century to the early 20th century, in terms of the creation of these primordial forms. A rootstock is a means of asexually propagating species, such as trees and some vegetables and many ornamentals. Some species cannot be propagated by cuttings and need to be grafted, and that's where the rootstocks come in. These lines will also be used to add other novel traits such as disease resistance, dwarfing, or abiotic stress tolerance into the individual plant. Through the combination of the sign cultivar, which contains the traits you want, and the rootstock, which contains other traits of interest. Biotic stresses, these are problems that affect a plant that are of a biological origin. These include parasites like nematodes, insects like aphids, and pathogenic diseases like fusarium and fire blight. Abiotic stresses are problems in the environment. Drought, frost, and flood are among these in number. The gene pool is the sum total of genetic variation of a particular crop population. Depending on the type of crop and the type of population, the gene pool will be larger or smaller. A land race is the primordial form of the cultivated species bred into being through domestication and are the most variable form of the crop species outside of the wild form. Open pollinated cultivars are primitive cultivars bred before the modern breeding methods came into being. Modern cultivars are cultivars bred through pure line selection and controlled crossbreeding. More on this later in a different video. G by E is the interaction between a cultivar's genetic package and the environment. This is a study to try to tease out how much of the cultivar's traits can be explained by genetics versus the overall environment. And that about covers everything for this episode. Thank you for watching. If you want to donate to my channel, the links are below. If you want to buy my book, you can also find that link in the description box below.